Boom! It's science, Mr. Robertson. He is back in action. We're back with evolution. We ended part 1 in the last video with our first plants that had got themselves onto land. That adaptation made our world a very, very different place. Suddenly, life could explode once more. If the only life is in the water, then only plants, can only cover the surface because they need the sunlight. So as soon as there's land, the plants need sunlight, but they could grow upwards. They could go above the water. And that way there was much more space to actually get life to live. This was one of the biggest changes that could possibly happen. As soon as the plants came on, animals followed quickly. And the first animals are probably in a group of animals, what we would call today, amphibians. This is the group of things that would include frogs, for example. Now, one of the special things about them is that even today, those that live out of water, they still need a watery environment, especially with their eggs. What actually happens is that the boys, they throw all of their sperm into the water. The girls throw their eggs into the water. And there's hundreds and thousands of sperm and egg, and they bump into each other randomly. And most die or get eaten, but some survive. And they go through to the next generation. So it's kind of evolution in a much more crazy random process. You have to make lots of eggs. But hey, does the job. They make babies and they live, so that works. What you get now, these amphibians, these first things that can try and venture out onto land, and there's difficulties. One of the difficulties you have, of course, is with breathing. But this is possible because there's plants for a start. Plants making oxygen, which is incredibly important. And that oxygen level through history, the oxygen has been going up. It started at 0 and up. But now it's like 21%. And pretty much this is the highest it's ever been on planet Earth. It's barely been higher than this. So carbon dioxide levels, oxygen levels constantly going up as there's been more photosynthesis on our planet. After amphibians, we also get another group that follow quite quickly afterwards. And this is a group that we would call today reptiles. Reptiles were able to dominate the land, and especially the big continents, because unlike amphibians, they did not need a watery place all the time to survive. I would certainly think about the snakes we have today that survive in deserts. So they had different adaptations. But one of the problems with them is that they are cold-blooded. Cold-blooded means that these animals can't keep their temperature the same. My body temperature, hopefully, is 37 degrees Celsius. And that's what it's always, fingers crossed, going to be. These animals, when it's hot outside, their body's hot. And they've got loads of energy. When they're cold, and it's cold outside, their blood goes very slowly. And they rest. And they wait. And don't do very much. So these have to control temperature. Really, really important. Many of them have fins. Like, the fins on the back of a fish. And what they can do with these is these can point at the sun. And turn, face the sun, get lots of energy, lots of light. Great. If they're a bit hot, they can put it away and not use that. So there's a definite difference there, and a definite moment when reptile adaptations could take over Earth. We also, at this point here, in fact, come to a point called the Carboniferous period in. in history. And this is what? a few 100 million years ago. Let's say 300 million years ago now. And this is when most of the, it's called the Carboniferous. This here was full of trees, really loads of trees, loads of swamps, lots of carbon. All of those fossil fuels, the oils, the coals, and the gases, they were made in the Carboniferous period, millions of years ago. And if we keep burning them like we are, we're going to run out of these things by the end of this century. 250 years of heat and pressure and crushing to make this oil, coal, and gas, and then we will destroy that and burn it all in 250 years. Think about that. After that, we had dinosaurs. Dinosaurs I won't do too much right now, but let me tell you, dinosaurs are the biggest and scariest things we've ever had on planet Earth. And then, boom, dinosaurs died. Dinosaurs dying is a big, what we call a mass extinction. And this is the most recent one, 65 million years ago. There have been 5 mass extinctions in the Earth's history. This is the most recent of them. And we think that, more than half of the species on Earth died in one instant. This was a big thing that happened. But after that, and after those dinosaurs died, then we got what we call the age of mammals. Mammals was able to start dominating the planet after that. Many mammals survived after the extinction. And that is something very important, because how they survived, that's amazing. How could they actually survive when the dinosaurs couldn't? Dinosaurs that dominated the planet. That's important to think about. So, we come to this, and the mammals, one of their biggest adaptations was they give birth to living children, living babies. They don't have eggs. They don't throw sperm into the water. They actually give birth to living creatures, and they need looked after. They need to be protected because they're young and they're very weak. They usually need milk to survive as well, and mammals have hair to keep them warm. So, lots of things here that made mammals different. And many mammals dominated. Think about the animals today, like the lions and the elephants, that really are so much huge and dominate a landscape. But of course, the most interesting bit is at the end, when humans start appearing. And we're looking now 3.5 million years ago, when we found the first footprints that could come from one of us. And we say one of us because it started walking on 2 legs. And most others in our family, with monkeys and chimpanzees and stuff, they use 4 legs. So humans became different because they were able to use 2 legs. That's our biggest adaptation, and being one of our biggest advantages to evolutionary success. Now, there's many different kinds of humans, and so the brains have got bigger, the hand control has got stronger as we have developed over the last few million years. Homo sapiens is the group of humans that we belong to. Now, we believe the first Homo sapiens that had our structures and our facial features and all the things that make us exactly the human we are today first came out about 30,000 years ago. It's great. But life got a bit tricky. There was a huge ice age, and that ice age would have stopped about 10,000 years ago. And pretty much all of Northern Europe, in fact most of Europe in general, was covered by big blocks of ice and was an impossible hard place to live. There wouldn't have been any humans here. So think about this. 10,000 years ago is not so very long, and think about how different people are in different parts of the world and how they look and how they act. 10,000 years is not a long amount of time. If I say each person as an average, could be more, could be less, we'll take an average, has a baby about age 25. If I divide 10,000 by 25, my answer comes out at 400. That means there's probably been 400 generations. So there's 400, that's like 400 times great-great-great-grandparents. Which is a lot, but also not a lot, to get to a time when we were all the same. Now, there's two things I think are amazing here. One, we are all so much more similar than we are different. That is not a big number. And two, it's amazing how different we all are. Based on that, or at least how we all appear to be. We are all so similar, and yet we are so different. And I think that's amazing. And I think we should celebrate just how amazing we are as a species on the great things that we have managed to do after 4.5 billion years on planet Earth.